Folks, we are about to enter the grand final, and you may be asking yourself, what's it all for? Well, the main objective on our players' minds, undoubtedly the points that you can grab, which will not only get you to the land, but potentially get you straight into the final for the year if you can be the top team in your region. And we try to check in as much as possible on where the teams actually do stand. You get 120 points if you grab first place in this cup. You get 100 if you get second. Now, one of the themes of Europe has been some of these breakout teams. We talk about a bunch of players who maybe weren't given the best rosters to shine on last year. They get new teams. They're doing great. One of those teams going to be the Chalky Milkmen. Now, the Chalky Milkmen were able to grab 100 points in the first cup of the year, but we have some breaking news. There was a tweet put out by Gelubaba. You might know Gelubaba from years of competing, a very prominent mage, and this year he has had a breakout team with the Chalky Milkmen, but he just tweeted out, we have been extremely let down by Fnobbers, who has left the team, reducing our points from 100 to 50. Fortunately, though, our first choice healer, Clyde, is now available to play, so expect some RND and RMP bangs next week. And, you know, you may know him from when he was back on the team where he was playing Rogue Mage on Reformed. That's where they did coin that phrase, bang. And now I do want to say this is before that happened. This is before this tournament as well. You can see the Chalky Milkman with 100 points, and you may be asking, why do they end up losing points? Don't you get one free roster change? You do, but ultimately Clyde was on that team when Fnobbers was also on that team. Clyde then got removed from that team. They used the roster change to bring on Infernion, and now they need to bring Clyde back on. So that's going to be outside of their free roster changes. They are going to drop now in the standings, and they didn't have as dominant of a performance this week. So the team that this kind of impacts the most, in my opinion, is going to be someone like Wildcard Gaming, right? Because now all of a sudden they're jumping up to second place already, and they're on a tear here, and they look good in the top portion of the bracket. But it is interesting to see this happen with Fnobbers. I mean, we highlighted him as one of the best druids. He comes back into the fray, and now he's going to be leaving.
Yeah, he looked incredible in week number one. We were highlighting his offensive gameplay together with Gelu on that mage. He had incredible druid mage synergy, and then unfortunately for them, the meta changed a little bit, and they didn't look quite as sharp, not qualifying for that top 8 this week. And then I have no idea why he left, of course, but we can only speculate. Maybe he got a better offer. I'm not really sure. At this point, though, they're going to lose those 50 points. It's going to just leapfrog everybody else in those standings. It's just going to open up the bracket completely to snag up those points.
It's just going to kind of destroy their chances as well, potentially. I mean, the real thing is seeing is Clyde going to be able to give them those performances that they already had, but they have a little bit of a trek back. I mean, you see a lot of those teams in that 60-point area, and now they go to 50 after such a good performance. It is going to be tough for them, but let's look at the matchup on hand. One of the teams that we said could benefit the most from this is Wildcard Gaming. Before this tournament, they had 80 points. Now they know they're either going to grab 100 or 120. Method Black wants to put the pedal to the metal yet again and grab another 120 points. This is something that they've done throughout the entirety of the year. Last year, even when they didn't need points because they already knew that they were going to be going through. It's something that we have seen consistently from them. Let's talk about the matchup. How does best of 7 come into play?
Well, best of 7, we're just going to see a lot more maps, and we're going to see both of these teams try out different compositions. I think we saw different compositions in every single one of the last games that these guys played against each other in their last series. I think it's going to be similar. Both of them sort of playing mind games initially on the Grand Arena, and I think it might come down to who gets the better matchup on the Grand Arena, and then, of course, who plays the map a little bit better. In the last series between them, Wildcard Gaming took advantage of the smaller maps by bringing in some cleave setups. On the larger maps, they're able to bring in those wizard compositions, and I feel like Method Black, they have going to have learned a lot from that last series. Now they're actually going to be implementing Chaz on the Mistweaver Monk, which I think is really good because we kind of talked about how powerful Mistweaver Monks are against some of those damage over time effects that the Elemental Shaman and the Moon can bring.
An exact split right now in the chat, and it's a very fair thing to have happen. Method Black, typically one of the favorites. If you do want to be voting in the chat, you want to be right. Usually we do see people voting on the side of Method Black, but this time around, there is a team that has been dominant for a long time that has found their stride with Morrow on the new roster. Wildcard Gaming looking to take down Method yet again.
We've got drama before the grand finals. Now we've got the action. A best of 7 to decide the champion of Europe's Cup #2. The winner of this gets the king's share of the points to qualify to the Spring LAN later this year. Raikou already under huge fire by the team of Wildcard Gaming. Chaz has showcased multiple healers throughout this tournament with Paladin, Druid, and Shaman under his belt, and now Mistweaver. But is perhaps he spreading himself too thin?
It's definitely a possibility, but Chaz has shown that he's just so competent on all of these healers in these series, does an excellent job, but I don't know if this was necessarily the best pick. I don't know how this exactly is going to work out. Chaz maybe isn't going to have to sneak away for drinks as often. One of the good things about the Mistweaver Monk is you have this moment where you can push in with your paralysis for a 4-second crowd control, and you can follow it up with a leg sweep. That means you get a nice little 9-second CC about every minute that Chaz can help his team out and try to find some burst kills. Looney's actually going to be opting into Relentless to reduce some of that crowd control and try to keep his alive during those scary moments.
Yeah, good trades here from both teams early on. I would say that Chaz is slightly behind here without that Gladiator's Medallion. If he tries to move across the map aggressively, he could be exposed to crowd control, and also he is susceptible to the Root Solar Beam. I really think that Chaz may have opted to go for Gnome, and that might have been a better option to counteract that combination of crowd control. Of course, he does have Raikou, who has reverse magic. He can then duck around and remove that root effect so that Chaz can escape the silence of the Solar Beam's sector. Zeepai in midfield setting up for huge damage here off the back of that Primal Elemental towards Raikou, but Chaz already lining up big heals and completely negates it, I do believe. Now with I-Beam rolling. No, nice Lightning Lasso on the I-Beam, denying a couple of attacks and trying to sneak in a kill. Just not enough. However, if we move into dampening, a situation like that is going to net them a kill.
Yeah, and I honestly wonder why Method Black didn't just opt to go for the mirror in this matchup. Maybe they know something we don't, but so far, this hasn't been looking too great for them. Chaz is going to be susceptible to the hexes coming in from Zeepai, whereas before on the Resto Druid, he could get into bear form or travel form or cat form and try to avoid those if he needed to. Now, if Chaz misplays just a little bit, Zeepai is going to be able to take advantage of that extra crowd control. Looney completely full on mana right now. Lightning Lasso is going to be used in that. It's such a powerful ability Zeepai has. It's a channeled stun as well as channeled damage on a target, so we have to see Swaps in Raikou break that up by either trinketing or getting interrupts on it as soon as possible.
Eventually, that Solar Beam Lightning Lasso is going to get Wildcard Gaming a kill because Raikou cannot use reverse magic in a Lightning Lasso, and Chaz can't heal him in a Root Solar Beam. So with crowd control applied to two members at the same time, they can remove all potential for Method Black to recover in the fight. And because this is a blind pick, it will give the winner a swing match advantage for the rest of the series all the way back to Game 7. Wildcard Gaming just seemed to be a step ahead in the current meta over Method Black, and I'm wondering what they're gonna do for the rest of this fight. Mana is still equal, but they would like to try and get a lead. Deeper into dampening, Swapsy even becomes a target. He's trying to tunnel down Zeepai, maybe split some pressure, try and force Looney to heal multiple targets and expend more mana, but I don't think it's looking too hot for Method Black.
So far, it hasn't been looking good. Chaz just hasn't been able to push in and get the CC that he needs. He does sit down and drink. And here's one of the things about the Mistweaver Monks is, although early on, we kind of talked about how powerful the counteract magic honor talent was, which empowers your Renewing Mist if anyone has a magic damage over time effect on them. That's very strong early on, but later on, that healing just isn't enough to sustain, and that's when you have to start using the Enveloping Mists and the Vivify, the more expensive heals that the Mistweaver Monk have available to actually keep your team alive. But Chaz, so far, I think he actually sat down for a drink there, managed to get full mana back, and now Method Black is actually looking quite good, and they have a mana lead. If they can sustain this, I could see them winning the game.
Looney trying to retreat from Raikou, Zeepai trying to back him up with counter pressure. I do like Looney's positioning, running back and forth in the open field. That's quite effective when you are playing with two ranged casters against two melee classes, so that you can just expose them to huge damage and crowd control. While Chaz tried to cross midfield, he was susceptible and got caught in a hex, now leading towards damage onto Swapsy, forcing a trade on defensive cooldowns. Looney is creating these situations by running back and forth across the open field on the map. If you're a healer at home wondering how to deal with a situation such as this, facing a Death Knight, a Demon Hunter, and any other combination of melee classes, you definitely want to be following along with Looney's positioning because he is playing it immaculately.
Yeah, Yep, doing an excellent job. It basically just forces Raikou and Swapsy into the open, and that way Maro and Zeepai can really punish these melee classes that don't have as much mobility to chase Looney. Looney sitting in bear form right now, trying to tank through some of this damage. Mana Rift gets dropped out, and Raikou doing a good job so far in the game, landing these onto Looney. Already down to 50% mana. Swapsy getting a little bit low. This could be the life cocoon from Chaz, who will probably opt to just toss that out as soon as possible, actually having to trinket out of that Cyclone. Nicely done by Maro. Good bash as well onto Chaz, forcing out a lot of defensive cooldowns.
I still think that Chaz should be playing Gnome. Even with access to reverse magic, it's not reliable, as Raikou could be crowd controlled during that moment. And I do think it is going to net Wildcard Gaming a kill. Now, while Mistweaver is effective against Balance Druid and Elemental Shaman, you need to be playing Gnome. Otherwise, you can't deal with that Root Solar Beam. Chaz is trying to cross the field to reconvene with Raikou on the opposite side, but while he's doing that, Looney is on the opposite side of the map, sitting down, casually drinking, regenerating his mana to a significant lead now over Chaz, as dampening has just begun and continues to reduce the incoming healing of both sides. Now, Raikou was the burst target before dampening, but in dampening, the Death Knight becomes exposed because Death Strike is significantly weaker, so Swapsy is going to have to take note of that and prepare.
Yeah, it's going to be coming scary for both of these teams. Method Black getting lower, stun onto Swapsy. Can they take him down? No, Anti-Magic Shell will be enough. A large Death Strike as well heals Swapsy up to a healthy amount. Zeepai in midfield taking a little bit of damage. Looney, mana not doing terrific right now. Has been finding some moments to drink, but Raikou with the spectral sight of the Demon Hunter should be able to chase him down, find him in stealth, and that's going to limit the opportunities that Looney has to actually sit down and drink.
Yeah, good usage of that spectral sight by Raikou, and now Chaz has a significant mana lead, but this Death Knight is slowly but surely becoming a liability in the fight, constantly getting bursted down in that Lightning Lasso Star Surge combination that we were talking about earlier on. Definitely, if you're looking to play this composition that Wildcard Gaming has played, you want to become combining those two spells, the Lightning Lasso of the Elemental Shaman and the Star Surge of the Balance Druid, and you can communicate that to your teammate. I'm going to go for a Lightning Lasso, and then your Balance Druid partner can trade in some Star Surges and really hammer down a huge burst opportunity. Zeepai has been getting a lot of hexes, and it's been putting his team quite far ahead as Chaz cannot heal while sitting in that frog form. Swapsy gets bursted again, deeper into dampening. Chaz gets bashed, caught in a Root Solar Beam. Raikou ducks over to reverse it, but Maro follows up with a Cyclone. Chaz opts to trade Gladiator's Medallion. Cooldown's now being overlapped. Chaz continues to be interrupted, and mistakes like this deeper into dampening are going to cost Method Black the match.
Yeah, it's much more difficult to recover in a situation like that when you fall behind, but Chaz able to easily heal through the damage so far. Life Cocoon available, and that really is what we're going to be looking for. If Chaz has that Life Cocoon, someone on his team should be completely fine, but as dampening gets higher, it becomes lower, and then Method Black, it's going to be a lot more scary for them. That last offensive push from Looney cost him a bit of mana, looking for those Cyclones. He does have Innervate. Maro used his last one on Looney, allowing him to recover a little bit. And right now, Zeepai and Maro looking for some damage. Chaz in the midfield. Swapsy getting a little bit low. Looney still just kiting around the best he can, get caught in the Fell Eruption, and this is what we're going to be looking for from Raikou consistently in these games. Stun Looney, use Mana Rift, burn his mana, and it just puts Wildcard Gaming on a timer, especially if they can slow down the incoming drinks.
Oh, Chaz getting hexed again, and this time during that Way of the Crane. Big punish by Zeepai. You can tell that Wildcard Gaming want to show their back in the tournament scene as they are assaulting the team of Method Black with complete dominance. They 3-0'd them earlier on in the tournament. They have a second chance here to come back in this best of 7, but they're falling behind due to critical mistakes. Swapsy is an open target now into deep dampening territory with not many defensive options. He's currently Lightning Lassoed. Maro unable to combine any Star Surges with that though, so now he is starting to stabilize. Chaz trying to fake cast a Wind Shear of Zeepai, managing to do so. Looney finally being pressured here as Raikou tries to take the game into his own hands.
Yeah, taking down Looney, he gets gripped back into the fight. Swapsy not letting him escape that easily. Looney in travel form, still looking to get away. Raikou throws in Gladiator's Maledict. I want to see Swapsy and Chaz help out as well. They need to be getting all 3 Maledicts out at the same time to try to push through some of those heals and actually land a kill at this point in the game. Swapsy still a little low, caught in midfield, and we talked about how the Death Knight becomes more and more vulnerable in this matchup as it goes on, as his self-healing will be reduced. And once that's reduced and he has to actually run away from the battle, Method Black might end up losing a lot of pressure. But so far, Method Black, they're doing a great job. Looney's almost completely taxed on mana. And this game number 1 between these two Titan teams is definitely going to matter. If Method Black can win this game, they have such a big advantage if it does end up going to a game 7. And I think that's what it might come down to.
They have all the momentum right now. Method Black are battling it back here as Looney's tapped on mana. Morrow is low on health and dampening is going higher and higher. Looney tries to escape, but Raikou continues to chase him down. Chaz activates Way of the Crane. They're looking to find a kill on Looney here and now. Are they going to be able to pull it off? Chaz trinkets to find the kill. Looney denies it. Cyclone by Morrow supporting Looney, but he's still caught into a stun. Morrow is still being pressured by Swapsy. Looney has to heal 2 targets at 34% dampening with basically 0 mana left in the tank, and he's still managing to do it. Swapsy now getting bursted down. Both teams race to the finish. Defensive overlap on both sides. This game is going to be ending shortly. Potential cross-kill opportunity. Lightning Lasso immediately broken out there by Swapsy. Cooldowns, though, are now available for him. He's ahead on the cooldowns. He's ahead on the momentum, but Chaz gets hexed. Zeepai doing anything to try and keep his team going in this fight as we race down to the finish.
Yeah, Innervate coming in from Morrow onto Looney a little bit earlier on, allowed him to stabilize a little bit, but now with no mana left, Darkness gets dropped out. Raikou trying to assist Swapsy in this final push onto Morrow at 38% dampening. Thorns does get used. Looney with the Iron Bark available quite soon. Can he get it off? Morrow just needs to hold on for a little bit longer. Raikou trinkets out. They can't believe it. How is Morrow still alive, but just sitting in bear form? They are not able to get out the counter pressure that they need. Looney with the Iron Bark looking to keep him alive, but I do not think it's going to be enough. Morrow ultimately falls, and Method Black says, you know what, you're going to 3-0 us? Well, we got a surprise for you.
They certainly do say just that. Wildcard Gaming looked so strong in the previous matchup. Method Black showing that maybe that was just a fluke. Can't count out Wildcard Gaming yet, but I do think that a 3-0 against Method Black is such a crazy performance. It's so difficult to have something like that. Wildcard Gaming could still easily take this series, but I don't think it's going to be a 3-0, a 4-0 in this scenario at all.
I actually think that this game just showcases, again, just the flexibility of Chaz. This guy's been playing Holy Paladin, he's been playing Resto Druid, he's been playing Mistweaver Monk, he's been playing Resto Shaman just today, and he looked good on all of them. Chaz here, I think he's gonna be the key factor, because this is on one of what we like to call the balanced maps, maps like Tiger's Peak, maps like Nagrand Arena that aren't super big, but are not either very small. And to grab a win against the double wizard on one of the maps that are a little bit more in the favor of wizards, that's a very good sign, because now all of a sudden, if we see a large map locked in, well, Method Black can just blind lock one of their own wizard comps. If we see a small map locked in, we can see Method Black look in a melee cleave. And if we see something like this, we can see Chaz come out again on that Mistweaver. But we also know that Looney has this pick available. We saw Looney play the Mistweaver as well. So this could potentially come down to who plays the Mistweaver better.
It's such an important thing to note. It's so easy when you look at any rogue team to just say that the rogue's the MVP, right? You do it all the time because it's so flashy. There are so many plays made around the rogue. But when you look at a player like Chaz, he's just one of the MVPs, period, of the AWC. He's one of the best players in the world. He opens his team up to so many different lines of play. Like, it's absurd. You have two players. You have a player like Swapsy, but he needs to be enabled by having these different healers as well. And Chaz is one of those players that helps all the players on his team reach their full potential, but also does it in style himself. A fantastic player, and we may see him flex just a little bit more today here, Sid.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by Chaz. I think the only healer we haven't seen him play is the Holy Priest, although it's not usually used in the tournament setting. He's basically got every other healer in his pocket to pull out, which I'm trying to think if any other healer in the world can even do that, especially in a grand final. Just pull out the Mistweaver. All right, I guess you can play Mistweaver too. Looney is definitely a contender, but I haven't seen him play as Disciplined Priest, at least not in the tournament setting, although his compositions don't really set him up to do so. But because Chaz can flex to every healer, Swapsy can flex to every dampening class, Raikou can flex as well between the mage rogue setups and the dampening classes, Waz can do the same. Method Black can basically play any comp that exists in the game at any time, and because of that, they should strategically be able to navigate any series, in my opinion.
That's why typically too, I feel like I call them a learning team a lot. It's because once they figure out the meta and they get the practice in, like, they actually do have everything. Like, they really are able to play so many different things. they're coming out hot, though. Like, a change just happened. This is when you would expect them to potentially be at their weakness. This seems like such a good tournament for a team like Wildcard Gaming.
Yeah, definitely. For both of these teams, they're all just phenomenal players in general. I mean, sometimes when we see them lose, it's because teams sort of catch them off guard, or we see, like, sort of specialists, like the team. What is the team that just lost 50 points?
Chalky Milkman.
Yeah, Chalky Milkman. Chalky Milkman is one of those teams. They were sort of a specialist team where they really focused on that Rogue Mage Druid. And when that happens to be the most meta composition, then they can start looking to make these pushes and really take down Method Black or Wildcard Gaming, who maybe have sort of diversified a little bit more. But once they find answers to those comps, or those comps aren't as good, they get toned down just a little bit, then you always see these two teams consistently rising to the occasion. That's just because they are the most diverse and some of the best players in the world.
That's such an important thing to know. Like, you do have these specialists that they may come out and they have a breakout performance. The main thing with teams like that is you somewhat expect them to need to have that breakout performance, make it to a LAN, dominate that LAN, and then make sure that they can actually get to the finals if you want to see them go all the way through. And, you know, that one of the teams, like you mentioned, Gelu, one of the teams that he was on before was a specialist team that couldn't even use him, right? Ultimately, there weren't many times where we really saw Flappers go on the rogue. How did they manage to make it all the way to BlizzCon last year? Well, we saw a very good time for everybody who was playing jungle. They get up here up on the stage, and they just take down team after team after team with some of the biggest bites that we ever have seen. But looking back at this series, Tolvaron Arena going to be locked in, a nice large map. What do you think Method Black does here on the blind?
I think they should look in maybe the Moonkin Alley. The question is, are they confident enough to lock in their Moonkin Alley versus Wildcard Gaming's Moonkin Alley? Because that's most likely the matchup that we would end up seeing then. But they have some other options as well. In particular, I think we're going to be seeing Resto Druid healers. And we know that this is a meta very much where people go for those drinks on large maps. You can set that up a lot easier. And personally, I don't think that the Mage Alley should beat the Moonkin Alley. We have seen it beat the Moonkin Alley. It's not a one-sided matchup, but I think that if Wildcard Gaming doesn't make too many mistakes in that matchup, they should be able to walk away with the Mage Alley, with the Moonkin Alley versus the Mage Alley.
You know, looking at this right now, the first thing that I think is just, I wonder how many times we're going to watch this grand final throughout the year. Like, you look at these two teams right now, I think this is a matchup that we see so much. You know, in NA, we saw Method Orange in the move quite a bit, and it was the Super Frogs who was right behind them, not managing to push up and be in that grand final quite as much as those two squads. They go head-to-head so many times. And now here, it looks like Method Black and Wildcard Gaming really might just take up all of the good spots in Europe. A lot of teams going to try to challenge that, but here and now, Method Black going to be locking in Raikou on the Demon Hunter and Swapsy on that Death Knight.
Now, I don't think this is a horrible pick, but I don't think this is necessarily the best pick either. I think on Tolvaron Arena, this map, it's not great for melee. We've seen how it sort of plays out. A lot of the time, these melee, they just get dragged into the open. They just don't have the uptime that they need, and eventually, when the game goes late, the casters end up having a big advantage. So I think Wildcard Gaming, for them, it's going to be an easy lock-in for the Moonkin Elemental Shaman once again. I think Chaz on the Resto Druid, it's going to be more difficult for him to keep his team alive. He's going to have to actually look for drinks compared to the Mistweaver Monk, who didn't really have to. He was relying on the counteract magic and the Life Cocoon, the Serpent Jade statue, has a lot of passive healing for his team to keep them going. And every time Life Cocoon's up, it's basically a free reset. You're going to be completely fine. With the Resto Druid, it's not exactly like that, and I think it's going to be more difficult for Chaz to keep his man up.
Yeah, and to basically get in and do what he's going to need for his team, he's going to have to go on like that off-road journey to get back into the action, run away, look for those drinks. Sid, what do you think Wildcard Gaming does go with here? It does seem to be pretty straightforward.
I mean, some wizard composition. I mean, they could do Balanced Druid Elemental Shaman again, or they could do Mage Elemental Shaman. I'm expecting something along those lines for this composition in particular. We've seen its success in the past. I mean, Method Black just employed it against We Were Here, so it's just my expectation, but we're in the grand finals. There's a lot on the line here between first and second place, so they want to run down the timer, consider all their options, what is actually the best statistically, because they're working with limited data.
Zico, what are the ups and downs of Mage versus Boomkin partnered with the Elemental Shaman?
The Boomkin, I think packs a little bit of a harder punch in Incarn. I would actually, in dampening with that Incarnation, I would like to see the Mage.
Wow.
We are not going to see either of those things. That is very interesting. I think that this is not this is not what you want to be doing if you're Wildcard Gaming, because I don't think that the DH DK should lose to the Windwalker DK because we're bringing out the triangle again.
No, I don't know anything. I took the triangle. The triangle's gone, dude.
Yep.
They've destroyed it.
Yeah.
Why mirror here?
Well,
oh, it's not even a mirror. Sorry, Blizzo's on the monk. Why go for cleave versus cleave?
maybe they don't feel confident picking in a spell cleave into what Method Black is running here. We haven't really seen too many of these cleaves actually be healed by a Resto Druid on a large map. We always talk about how, well, the Wizards, they get to have a Resto Druid who stays very far back and two casters who are just kind of pumping out damage. Well, a Resto Druid on this map, he can easily just sneak off and get a drink. You don't really need to stealth behind the pillar and drink there. You can just stealth, run away a little bit, and then drink somewhere else. We've seen Chaz do that time and time again as well on that Resto Druid, kind of throw his enemies off guard a little bit like that. So, honestly, I think the Windwalker is a liability here. I think the Windwalker is going to be a big pressure point, and it's going to cost Looney a lot of mana trying to heal that, and Blizzard is going to be forced to run away a lot as well.
Yeah, I think right now when we look at this, what does the actual game look like moment to moment? Who are the targets going to be? You see Blizzo is going to be one of the first people that Zico mentions here, Supati, saying Blizzo looks like he has that target right on his back on the side of Wildcard Gaming, but who is Wildcard Gaming going to try to go after on Method Black as their kill target?
I think their best target is Raikou before dampening, and then in dampening switch it to Swapsy. This way before they can keep Raikou on the defensive, and he's a bit more vulnerable with less healing than Deathstrike provides on Swapsy. Then later in dampening you make the switch on the targets. Chaz might be caught off guard if he's not expecting that, not be completely prepared with enough heal over time effects, and you can take down Swapsy. I'm curious to see if maybe Blizzo runs the grapple weapon on her talent and combines a stun into a disarm to remove Deathstrike. Maybe they could do that for an all-in kill onto the Death Knight. We have seen that in the past, but under the current circumstances of the game at the moment, I'm not sure if it is the best strategy overall, but it would be a surprise that they may be keeping.
When we look at this, okay, first we have them go up against each other in the winners, right? And I feel like Method picked poorly quite a few times. Now here are we seeing the tables just completely turned, in your opinion, Ben. Still very early in the series. This is, of course, the best of 7. But did Wildcard Gaming just basically shoot themselves in the foot in this pick, in your mind?
I think it's possible for them to win. I think the main advantage that Method Black actually has is the fact that they have a Demon Hunter, and they will have that Mana Rift, and we've seen it play out time and time again. Raikou on the Demon Hunter, high mobility, going to be able to consistently stun, use the Imprisonment onto Looney with the Mana Rift, and that will give them an edge. Also, Raikou on the Demon Hunter, he has the Spectral Sight, so if Looney does sneak away, he's in stealth, they don't know where he is, he can use that ability to find them quite quickly and shut down those drinks as soon as possible. And I think this is one of those matchups, I could be wrong, that will just end up coming down to mana and who can manage harassing the enemy druids better.
Also, though, you do have 2 druids. Whoever can create more space in this matchup on Tolvaron Arena, we do expect most likely to see Alliance, most likely to see those Shadow Melds coming out, and most likely to see druids sitting down for big beefy drinks time and time again. I do want to note, just for anybody tuning in right now to the Grand Finals, welcome. I do want to kind of go back to one thing that we haven't talked about nearly as much that we obviously are going to see here. We've seen throughout both weeks, and that's going to be trinket usage. We haven't really brought it up today at all, and I want to mention both Safeguard and the Maledict. So let's actually talk through it right now. Zico, why are we seeing these 2 trinkets so much?
Well, the Maledict trinket just kind of opens up kill windows where there otherwise wouldn't really be too many. You can shoot out essentially a Shadow Bolt that does a big beefy amount of damage and also absorbs incoming healing. It is possible to dispel this healing absorption effect, but Dispel is a spell with a cooldown, so if you have 3 of them, you can shoot one, force out that Dispel, and then launch the next one, and then the next one, absorbing huge amounts of healing and taking down people who otherwise think that they're safe.
Yeah, and then Safeguard is going to be that defensive utility that we see a lot of the time. If you ever see a little blue bubble go around anyone when they dip low on health, that is going to be the shield provided by that defensive option. But now it is going to be an absolute fray. We got 2 melee cleaves going toe-to-toe here on Tolvaron Arena.
Yeah, Chaz seems to be the target of choice very early on for Wildcard Gaming. They're looking for an all-in on Chaz. Barkskin and Ironbark has been used. Blizzo committing the touch of death. 1 Maledict connects. Can they get back over onto Chaz? Ring of Peace gets dropped out by Blizzo. Chaz able to easily escape through that. And now, across the map, he should be completely fine. You were right. Blizzo actually is going to be opting to run that disarm.
All right, with grapple weapon, they can maybe potentially with turbo fists as well parry a death strike and deny it long enough to get a kill with extended crowd control on Chaz. We really haven't seen anybody try to craft a strategy to completely negate death strike and kill a Death Knight early on. It's been most teams that are just saying, all right, we're going to play the long game, we're going to take a chill pill, we're just going to play max range and try and extend the game. But I really do think you can build compositions to burst down a Death Knight with specific talent builds, and Blizzo is trying to implement one of those currently here with the grapple weapon. However, I think his Arms Warrior still may have been a better pick. He can bring Disarm and Sharpened Blade and Stormbolt more frequently. I actually think they need to consider different options here and try to build compositions to counter the Death Knight, at least when they know they're running into it with the map and the comp pick advantage.
Yeah, I actually wonder why a lot of these teams aren't choosing to implement the Arms Warrior. It is a lot of damage, very durable, like you said, has a lot of disruption. Blizzo, of course, grabbing that grapple weapon. He's had to give up his Fortifying Brew, so that means he's going to be more vulnerable as a target. He has the Diffuse Magic to remove Maledict. He has the Touch of Karma to survive, but without that Fortifying Brew, he is a solid option for Method Black in this game, and you can bet that they have realized that. Once again, Blizzo, Zeepai, they're looking to take down Chaz, who's in bear form in midfield, looking to try to kite away the best he can. Leaps behind the pillar, gets gripped back by Zeepai. But Blizzo, unfortunately, with no cooldowns left, really vulnerable, going to have to potentially run away during this moment. Swapsy and Raikou still all over him. Fist of Fury going to be used out. Try to get some counter pressure and keep himself alive. When Blizzo does use his Fist of Fury, that gives him 100% parry with the Honor Talent Turbo Fists. So it's a great defensive move for Windwalker Monks in addition to increasing the amount of damage they do.
Yeah, I think Blizzo is doing an interesting decision here in game number 2. They are against the wall, so they may need to try and experiment with a new strategy. They are targeting Chaz in an all-in attempt. Is he actually going to fall to this burst damage? Darkness gets traded, but he might get unlucky. He has a chance to be hit even with the protection of that purple cloud, but fortunately for him, Chaz is always lucky. Manages to escape with one of his 9 lives used there. Now cutting across the map, but grip back into the battle, able to jump down to safety. Blizzo gets swapped to here by Method Black as he's been a pressure point. We saw in North America that Windwalker in particular ended up being a really good target in these Cleave mirror matches.
Yeah, definitely susceptible to damage when you don't have Turbo Fist, Touch of Karma. Just going to require Looney to toss out a lot of healing. Disarm used over onto Raikou once again, and I think that was just defensive. Grapple weapon, I'm not exactly sure how he wants to use it in this matchup. He can use it to deny a lot of the self-healing from both Swapsy and Raikou, but like we kind of talked about, it makes him more vulnerable of a target, and I think he could potentially be the most vulnerable target in this matchup anyways. In terms of mana, it seems like the pressure that Method Black has been able to put out, or sorry, Wildcard Gaming has been able to put out onto Chaz has put him a little bit behind, and you can see Looney, he's far away. He went for a drink, was able to regenerate just a little bit of mana, giving Wildcard Gaming a slight edge in that department as both Zeepai and Blizzo continually train down Chaz, but I think Chaz is going to be just fine.
Yep, Chaz has really only got to keep his mana, an eye on his mana. He can sneak away far away and go for a drink, but he doesn't have Darkness from Raikou to rely on to save the team while he does that, and his team will be exposed. Chaz getting gripped back into the fight, and Wildcard Gaming are mixing it up, trying to consistently go after the healer. We now see Method Black doing the same, and this may end up being a healer race at a certain point, although chasing down a Druid is quite a tall order to be able to accomplish, and it does seem to be the case that they are not going to continue that attack. Instead, now switching their attention back to Swapsy, that grapple weapon taking his weapon away and denying Death Strike. Now Turbo Fist denying it further, but still not enough damage to push Swapsy over. I do really want to see one of these teams implement the Retribution Paladin Arms Warrior if they know a Death Knight is coming their way. It's something that I think could be quite a hard counter to the Death Knight in particular. And I'm very surprised that we have not seen experimented with, considering Method Black used that composition quite a lot last year.
Yeah, Chaz looked for a drink, not able to find it. Now Looney and Chaz have actually evened out on mana. Interested to see where Looney is right now. Blizzo tried to tank through some of this damage with the Touch of Karma. And that, I think, will ultimately allow Looney to regenerate. But no, Raikou was able to shut it down. Both these healers have not had a chance to drink in this matchup just yet. Grapple weapon, once again, going to be used onto Swapsy. Blizzo ports away. Looney has to play catch-up. Blizzo gets gripped back in, but with no defensive left, this is what we're talking about. Blizzo could be a very vulnerable target for Swapsy and Raikou. Put out a lot of pressure. You can see Wildcard Gaming, they're looking for Chaz. They can maybe take him down. He has the Bark skin up. Iron Bark available, but he's caught into the stun. No darkness from Raikou for another 3 seconds. Can he survive? He gets knocked back in line of sight by Blizzo. Oh. Darkness gets traded out in the nick of time with Barkskin. And that will be enough to keep Chaz alive, but still, these swaps from Wildcard Gaming are so dangerous on Chaz.
2 out of 9 lives. I actually want to see if that ends up lining up with 10 out of 9 at some point in this game. I don't think it's going to. I think it's going to end much sooner than that. Looney now almost tapped on mana as both druids are even, stepping foot into dampening, which is going to reduce the incoming healing of both teams. Now the Death Knights are a lot more susceptible to be taken out. Grapple weapon as Blizzo starts punching away. Turbo Fist to parry the incoming Death Strikes as well. Swapsy feeling the pain of that talent build that Blizzo brought here in game number 2. We do see an attack towards Chaz as well. Wildcard Gaming trying to create pressure in multiple points. Chaz preemptively activating Iron Bark and trying to retreat to safety, but he's also got Swapsy at low health who he needs to keep an eye on, and this is looking increasingly difficult for Method Black.
Yeah, Raikou trying to once again land a Mana Rift onto Looney. Manages to find it, almost completely tapped on mana, but Swapsy's the one that's in most trouble. Zeepa and Blizzo all over him. Chaz going to have to play catch-up. Icebound Fortitude gets used by Swapsy, removing the stun and also preventing some incoming damage, which he needs, as Touch of Death has been used by Blizzo. That's the grapple weapon on Swapsy. No Death Strike going to be available for a few seconds as he looks to kite away. Death Pact has to be traded out. And now Swapsy, with no defensive cooldowns, is super vulnerable. Looney, though, with no mana left. Blizzo could fall. He uses Diffuse. He has a tough Chakarma, but after that, Wildcard Gaming, they got nothing left.
And Blizzo has to trade both of those. Now Maledict is soaking up some heals as well. Looney has to expend even further, manage to dispel that off. And Method Black are battling back here in game number 2, which would be a massive lead. They would have such a huge advantage for the rest of the series if they can manage to win on what is supposed to be Wildcard Gaming's counter pick. Looney's got 3 targets at low health. He does have Innervate, but he's caught in crowd control as Method Black look to take Blizzo out. Blizzo protects himself with that Ring of Peace, but they're closing. They've got him surrounded. There's nowhere for him to hide. Fist of Fury to try and parry some attacks here as this match may be closing shortly. Grapple weapon in desperation to deny some of Raikou's damage as they switch targets and some attention to him. Trying to catch Chaz off guard. Deep into dampening. This swap might be able to net them a kill here. Wildcard Gaming look to put a point on the board but get denied. Iron Bark starting to stabilize Raikou, and now Method Black have the advantage.
Yeah, and Blizzo's still in a lot of trouble. Looney looking for a drink here. If he was able to get some mana, could be good. Innervate usage needs to be good for Looney here. He can use his Innervate. He can get basically free healing for a couple of seconds onto Blizzo and Zeepa. Blizzo once again kiting away, doing a good job, waiting for that touch of Karma. In 23 seconds, he's going to be feeling a lot more healthy, a lot more stable in this matchup. Chaz now honestly completely tapped on mana. Also, both these druids running out of time at 21% dampening. Grapple weapon now onto Raikou. And he does have his darkness coming up shortly. Time is just flying in this game.
Yeah, at this point, 22% dampening. Both druids completely tapped on mana. Looney's actually got Innervate available, so he can make all of his spells free. That could be something that allows him to push forward and allow his team to get aggressive. Dampening getting higher and higher. Wildcard Gaming mixing it up, going after different targets. Method Black as well, creating pressure on Looney. Will he be able to survive? He ducks around the corner, but Raikou cannot be kited. Swapsy is impending doom for Looney here on game number 2. Ring of Peace denies the reconnect. Looney crosses the map to safety, but now Blizzo stunned back behind the pillar. Looney left him behind. Maledict absorbing the heals. Touch of Karma sustains Blizzo for now. Both teams completely tapped. Dampening is not going anywhere but up and up and up and up, and that healing is going to become so difficult for both teams to recover through. Grapple weapon now. Swapsy can't Death Strike. He's in a bit of danger. Chaz is trying to keep 2 members of the team back up. I love the strategies implemented on both sides. Switching targets frequently is super effective against Restoration Druids. Swapsy falling further behind. Chaz doesn't have much. Darkness gets traded out, but he could get unlucky in that. He death grips him out of the safety of the darkness. They disable root him as well to hold him out of that defense just a second longer. Sick play by Wildcard Gaming.
And we are going to see Wildcard Gaming bring it back with a composition that we thought was pretty interesting, and also the way they play it. is very interesting. I think we see them go a lot faster than we typically expect this team to play. A lot of early attempts that looked like they may bear fruit. Chaz almost going down. So, Zico, how are they able to switch things up so dramatically on Tolvarad?
Honestly, I like the kiting from Blizzo on this map. There was a couple of moments where he just allowed Looney to get a couple of those drinks. And here in the end, honestly, I think Chaz makes one of the few mistakes in this match. He's sitting down here for the drink. At this point, he has to hard commit to it. He actually stands up. If he waited like 2 more seconds here, he would actually get mana. But instead, he cancels his drink as he's about to get that initial tick of mana. It could have been enough to actually save Swap Seed long enough to get that Iron Bark off, which then would allow him to get that Innervate off, which would allow them to potentially take down Blizzo, who has no defensives on the side of Wildcard Gaming. But it just comes down to those small decisions. It really didn't feel like either comp was heavily disadvantaged here in this map. It felt like what it came down to was individual skill, which Druid was more allowed to drink, which team kited better while the Druid was drinking. Small things like that really was what decided this one.
And I think the other thing to note, too, that everybody on the desk did kind of say was it comes down to who's going to be able to keep that mana, who's going to be able to get away for these drinks. And that may be something that is important in some of these future matchups as well. We're going to have to see. Guys, keep in mind, this is a best of 7. We are just getting started. But at the end of this series, we're going to have a new champion in the EU. Well, we saw Wildcard Gaming have about the best tournament that you could have, but now in the grand final, they are going up against a pretty dominant force in the EU in Method Black. We're going to have to see what is going to happen in this series, because we've already seen that compositions can be changed. Maps can be changed quite a bit between these two rosters that have so much flexibility. My name is Rich. I'm going to be your host. I'm joined by Zico, Super Tees, and Van Ruki. So, Zico, what do you think happens here? What do you think the rest of the series does look like? Are we going to see more cleave versus cleave action?
Absolutely, we're going to be seeing more cleave versus cleave action, but we might also see some wizard versus cleave action. What it all comes down to is the map selection, and here we go. Wildcard Gaming bringing in the... So, Method Black, they picked the map. They pick Asherman's Fall, which is one of the larger maps. Wildcard Gaming, they are going to be locking in the Balance, Ellie, and Resto Shaman this time around instead of the Resto Druid. Now, Method Black, they beat this composition, but with a Resto Druid locking in that Mistweaver with the melee cleave. Now, Method Black, I think, should maybe lock in their own Wizard with a Resto Druid, Ellie Mage, and try to out-mana that Resto Shaman with their own Resto Druid because of that large map. However, if they lock in the melee cleave, I think Wildcard Gaming has a better matchup than they did in Nagrand here. Okay. And this is the swing match as well, which is very important to highlight. If Wildcard Gaming wins this, all of a sudden, if the series goes to Game 7, they will get to select the map as well as the comp after they've seen what Method Black locks in.
Important thing to note, though, in the best of 7, there are more opportunities, of course, to try to swing. But definitely, you can get that momentum in your favor here. What do you think about this composition, Van Ruki? Are you liking this pick coming in from Wildcard on the blind?
I don't mind it. I feel like Looney had such a difficult time on the Grand Arena going for drinks, and we've seen in these tournaments so far that the Restoration Shaman without drinking is a little bit more efficient with his mana. So I think it's intelligent. Method Black, it's kind of a guessing game for both of these teams, because I think it's unlikely Method Black actually has experience exactly against this comp. Maybe they decide to lock in some sort of Mistweaver composition, but what really hurts the Mistweaver is the offensive purges from Looney and Zipa. If they can get off those renewing mists, Chaz is going to have to use a lot more mana and not just rely on that one ability with the counteract magic.
Now, Method Black going to be trying to figure out which comp they're going to bring. They got 10 seconds to figure that out. I'm curious if they have any more surprises for us. What do you think is the right play into this?
I would lock in Firestarter, Fire Mage, Asarok, and just try to dampen it. They're not going to do that, though. They are going to lock in that melee cleave, which is another option, of course, that they have. Most likely, we're going to be seeing Looney get targeted on that Resto Shaman, similarly to what happened to Chaz in that lower bracket match against We Work Here. I'm not sure, though, if that's going to be a winning strategy. We saw that kind of work because of the small map, Blade's Edge. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case here, and I don't think that Method Black's composition necessarily would out-mana what Wildcard Gaming is bringing here if they were to go after someone like Maro.
Yeah, I also do want to note, Sid, that this is a comp that Method Black all of a sudden seems to be prioritizing a lot. It seems to be a composition that they are very, very happy with.
I mean, it's just overall good durability. The Mistweaver pick as well brings in an extra punch for the Monk to add a little bit of extra damage with Way of the Crane, so it's got late game kill potential. It's got good strengths to be able to survive into the late game as well, so it's very well rounded overall. It plays into what we expect to be the meta, which is extended matches into deep dampening, so everything about it is perfect for the meta. I still want to see some sort of Arms Warrior composition that's crafted to try and deal with the Death Knights, but in this case, Wildcard Gaming didn't show a Death Knight, so Method Black don't have that option really, and I think a Warrior would not have a great time into a balanced druid Elemental Shaman, so it doesn't make the most sense in that regard to pick it. However, Wildcard Gaming have spun the map at least in their own favor, and we saw them do that against Method Black earlier on when they locked in Tolvaron. So I think at some point this series is going to be a mirror, because they're going to be counteracting each other with Wizard versus Melee, and I thought it may have happened already here. I was expecting maybe Method Black to play a caster comp as well, but they feel confident in this.
Yeah, you really want to see Warrior today, huh? You've been talking about that a lot. I don't think that they're...
Well, I mean, if they watched Omnivore yesterday, then maybe they don't, but there's no Frost Mage in this game to be keeping the Arms Warrior man down, so I think it's a decent pick into a Death Knight.
Yeah. And like you did note, though, Wildcard coming in on the blind here, they don't have that option to try to counterpick against Method Black, and that momentum that we've been talking about in this series is still very much in their favor, right? When you talk about which team is getting to go kind of back and forth. So coming into this next one, Van, how do you think this actually plays out?
Well, I think Method Black, what they're going to be doing is the same strategy we saw in the Grand Arena. It's going to be mostly damage on Maro and Zebai, try to just limit what they can really do. Looney will be a little bit more of a vulnerable target on the Restoration Shaman, and I think it's going to be up to Raikou once again to be looking for the mana rifts. It's going to come down to mana, looking for those mana rifts consistently throughout the game just to get him out of mana, and once that happens, that's when they can make their final push on Maro and Zebai. We saw Chaz in game number 1 on the Grand. I don't think he used his Way of the Crane one time until Looney was completely tapped on mana, just for that a little bit of additional damage to try to close out the game, and I think that's what we'll see on this map as well.
Also important to note as well, I was just thinking about big picture for the entirety of the year, like both of these teams right now are first and second, essentially, in the point standing after what happens with the Chalky Milkmen, them dropping down to 50 points, because I believe we had Wildcard Gaming with 80 points, I want to say. So they have at least 180. They can get up to 200. And then on the other end, we see that Method Black already with 120 points. They're going to have at least 220. So they're in a pretty good spot already for the year overall. Wildcard Gaming wants to play that game of catch-up. Only one team from each region is going to be able to go all the way to finals based off of the points alone. Land, though, is going to be the first thing on their minds, but before they can get there, they got to pull down this win in the grand final. Best of 7, all tied up. Wildcard Gaming versus Method Black.
Yeah, Wildcard Gaming have good strategies in this series throughout Method Black in the entirety of the day. I think they've set themselves up well here on Ashamane's Fall with his Elemental Shaman balanced druid composition.
Yeah, and Chaz is actually playing the Gnome, so I think he heard you. He uses it. It's going to be super effective against that balanced druid, no longer susceptible to the root beam, and I think that gives Method Black even more of an edge in this matchup as they look to get very aggressive early on onto Zebai. Gets interrupted. That's the Astral Shift. Looney's still caught in a crowd control. They could force out Trinket Spirit Link. Looney has to Trinket out to connect some heals onto Zebai. And Zebai no longer has the safety net of those Restoration Druid Hots. If Looney gets caught into crowd control, both Maro and Zebai could be in some trouble.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm sold on the Restoration Shaman from Looney. I think he's experimenting with it because he's seen the success of the Shamans in North America with their mana output into deep dampening. Raikou gets bursted really early on by Wildcard Gaming. Cyclone at low health opts to use Bayer's Medallion to break out of that and allow Chaz to continue healing them back to full health. Good coordination there by Maro and Zebai with that Incarnation Stormkeeper. If they can coordinate attacks like that deeper into dampening, surely it will net them a kill, and that is going to be terrifying for Method Black, having seen this exchange so early on.
Yeah, Life Cocoon gets traded out by Chaz once again, keeping Swapsy nice and healthy as they make a little bit of a swap over onto Looney, getting him low. And I want everyone at home to be paying attention to Chaz's positioning. Chaz is just trying to line of sight Zebai as often as possible. Obviously, right now he's pushing in, but when he's in trouble and he needs to actually heal, his positioning has to be he's out of line of sight of Zebai, because that's really one of the only interrupts on the team that's really going to be threatening for him throughout the game. So if Raikou and Swapsy are in trouble, they need to position themselves in a way where Chaz can actually get heals off, because if he gets consistently interrupted like this, especially later on in the game, it's going to be very difficult.
All right, Raikou getting cycloned up, not able to get any output rolling for his team. We see Maro activating his Innervate on Looney, so getting a couple of free heals there to try and effectively use his mana for a late game potential victory here against Method Black on game number 3 in the grand finals of the European Region Cup number 2. Wildcard Gaming earlier in the day 3-0'd Method Black, and they were dominating them in both strategy and mechanics. Here in the grand finals, Method Black are showing that they've polished their plays and are ready to slay. Can they stay on target long enough to find a kill in the fray is a question, and we're going to find out pretty soon anyway.
Yeah, we would definitely will find that out very soon, Sid. Swapsy now being caught into the Lightning Lasso. That's going to force out the Anti-Magic Shell and Life Cocoon. And that is the safety net that the Mistweaver Monk has. I keep talking about it because of how important it is. It's a really short cooldown, and that just allows basically a free reset on HP. And that's why it's sort of difficult to actually kill against the Mistweaver Monk, because they always have that as an option with how low the cooldown it is. You have to wait until it's not as powerful or get these extended crowd control chains onto the Mistweaver Monk. But Wildcard Gaming, they don't really have that as an option. Root Solar Beam was a great option, but now that he's playing Gnome, they have a direct counter to that combination. Looney looking for a full hex. Chaz denies it with the Incapacitate, looking for some heals on Swapsy as he's caught into a Lightning Lasso once again. It's going to be really important Raikou and Swapsy able to shut that down. Otherwise, they might get a little bit too low for Chaz to top him off and heal him up.
The initial attack in this game by Wildcard Gaming netted them powerful cooldowns like Darkness, but that is now going to be available here shortly for Raikou, and that advantage that they build has been lost. But between these two top-tier teams, it is quite difficult to net a kill before dampening, so it is expected that this game will be continuing on for some time. Maro trying to set up some damage here, locking Raikou down in a bash, but Raikou denies that kill window by imprisoning Maro, slowing down the pressure enough for Chaz to recover. Looney's mana not looking too good, and that's really the biggest risk that Wildcard Gaming has taken here in Game 3. They experimented with the Restoration Druid version of this in Game 1 and didn't find success, so now Looney is trying to look for a different option in terms of healers, bringing in the Shaman and hoping that it will be effective, but I'm not entirely sold on it. If he can't maintain his mana at a high level, then into dampening when he wants to look for purges and dispels on enveloping and renewing mist from Chaz's Mistweaver Monk. He just won't have the mana to do it. If he can maintain his mana, bringing in Zeepai as well for a double purge attack, it could be a way for Wildcard Gaming to get a victory. Looney then needs to try and look for drinks, but with an Unholy Death Knight such as Swapsy, you can see his ghoul charging towards Looney. If that ghoul is attacking him, he is what is said in combat, and in combat you cannot drink. So Swapsy and Raikou and Chaz have crafted this melee cleave composition to be not only durable, but a drink denier, a very well-rounded choice by Method Black. However, they are exposed to crowd control, and we see the team of Wildcard Gaming trying to take advantage of that here by casting Hex on Chaz. You would then look to see a Root Solar Beam or a Cyclone or a Bash, which is now currently active with 2 seconds left there next to Chaz's frame. He can't heal whenever one of those boxes is next to his health. It means he's crowd controlled. In that position, he saw incoming crowd control and activated a defensive cooldown Life Cocoon that is currently glowing below his frame. That absorbed a huge hit onto Raikou and completely denied Wildcard Gaming's attack.
Yep, Looney at 50% mana, 4% dampening. It becomes more and more difficult for both of these healers. Raikou taking a little bit of burst. Stormkeeper from Zeepai looking for a lot of damage on Raikou. Double Maledict's going to be traded out. And that's what we see from these teams. Unless it's deep dampening, what they really need to be coordinating is these Maledict assaults. If they can continuously build up those trinkets and use them in a coordinated assault, they might be able to actually take someone down a little bit earlier on than you would normally expect. Chaz now into a Solar Beam. Maro just using it as an interrupt at this point, because going for the Root Solar Beam doesn't really accomplish too much. Raikou caught into a stun as he moves forward to continue the damage and also get in line of sight of Chaz. Zeepai still on the Elemental Shaman, very threatening with the Wind Shears as well as Looney. So if Chaz is forced into a position where he doesn't have Revival or Life Cocoon, and everyone's in the midfield, and Zeepai and Looney are in line of sight, that's when it gets really scary for the Mistweaver Monk. And that's the situation that Method Black wants to try to avoid at all costs.
It's really all about the healers deep into dampening. How can they maintain their mana and then use it aggressively to push the team over in deep dampening and massive healing reduction? Chaz has higher mana, and he can access an expensive ability called Way of the Crane, which boosts his damage enormously and also allows him to stabilize his team when his damage does healing as well. So Chaz with the lead will be able to access that more frequently and have more windows of opportunity, whereas Looney is slowly but surely being tapped on his mana, and he will not be able to access the ability Purge to dispel Renewing and Enveloping Mist. So if we look at the game's current state in game number 3, Method Black have a significant lead, although they need to take those windows of opportunity and execute on them. Chaz is the one who needs to be the initiator. He is the one that has to pick those moments to do it. If he picks the wrong one and they don't net a kill, it's going to cost him a lot of mana. If he does pick the right moment and net, then he's going to be able to net a kill. So everything rides on Chaz to be able to add an extra bit of damage to his team to find a kill here in game number 3. Looney needs to find some way to regenerate mana so he can access Purge. Otherwise, it's looking like curtains for Wildcard Gaming in game number 3.
Yeah, it is difficult, and I think with the way this series has been playing out, this series, in addition to the last time these two teams met a little bit earlier on today, I think both of them are still experimenting. They're both trying to figure out the patch. I know Rich asked me if these teams know exactly what's going on just yet, and I mean, this series would make me basically assume no. They're still trying to figure out what compositions are best. I feel like Wildcard Gaming, they realize potentially the Resto Druid isn't the best. Now they have to bring in the Resto Shaman, but I just don't know how well it's actually working out for them. Looney's mana has been doing better on the Resto Shaman, but I still think later on in the game, Method Black will have that edge. Marl's going to be taking a lot of damage. Looney, once he has to start spam casting heals, it's going to be difficult for him to keep Marl alive for much longer. With no trinket, one more good crowd control chain coming in from Method Black could actually close out the game. Chaz just sitting very far away, able to easily heal through this damage so far, throwing out a life cocoon as well. And you can see Raikou, he still has the darkness. Swapsy actually not even opting to play anti-magic zone, realizing they potentially don't need it, just wanting a little bit more offense in this matchup. Morrow taking some damage. Looney gets gripped in as well, and if Swapsy and Looney can continuously grip in Looney, get these mana rifts, get some damage rolling on him, it's going to tax his mana even further.
I mean, Method Black are securing more and more of an advantage here in game number 3 as Dampening ramps up to critical mass. It's going to be up to Z-Pie to try and close this fight out. He's got good crowd control at this moment in time, hexing up the healer Chaz, stunning Raikou, denying both from being able to retreat away and heal each other. Good solar beam, locking Chaz out on cast, and deep in Dampening, Death Knights then become the target for these teams. But even still, it's Morrow who is still on the back foot. Looney's a couple seconds away from that Gladiator's Medallion with 2 more left. Now Spiritling Totem may need to be required. He's desperately trying to hold on to that for a more dire situation down the pipe here, and he's managed to hold on, however, still costing him quite a bit of mana. Lightning Lasso onto Swapsy. He is slowly but surely becoming a liability here in Dampening. Chaz gets interrupted. Chaz has not been trying to find any sort of opportunity. He's really holding out for one big push, but if he's just never able to find a moment to attack, I'm not sure if his team has enough damage to close the game.
Yeah, Life Cocoon was so much smaller there for Chaz. Now at 30% Dampening that shield, you can't really rely on it as much. And it becomes really scary for the Mistweaver Monk. Now Chaz into the full hex. He has Trinket, but really no heals to keep Swapsy alive just yet. Darkness has to be traded out. Swapsy trying to take down Morrow. Looney trades out the Spirit Link, and now both of these healers really struggling to keep their teams alive. Lightning Lasso now onto Swapsy. How is Chaz going to handle this situation? Cap Totem onto him. Doesn't have Revival. Might have to actually activate the Way of the Crane to keep his team stable and push over Morrow. But Morrow with the bar skin still feeling relatively healthy. Looney has the Earthen Shield Totem as well. Wildcard Gaming still has a few tools left to survive, but it's not looking too good.
There's the Way of the Crane from Chaz. This is supposed to be the additional punch that his team needs, but he wasn't really able to get any sort of pressure out with that, and that just cost him a tad bit of mana. However, for Mistweaver Monks, they can pair up Mana Tea with Way of the Crane, reducing its cost by half. Swapsy still just getting slaughtered here into deep Dampening land. Morrow now getting reversed on. He's caught into a Fell Eruption. Opts to use Gladiator's Medallion to break out and try and avoid the fight, but he's not able to get out of there just yet. The Abomination has been brought into the battlefield as Swapsy looks to take this game for his team. Tons of damage. Looney with not many answers left. Multiple interrupts. One has been secured. Swapsy carrying the team. Another interrupt onto Looney will easily close this fight. Imprison prevents the incoming healing. Morrow struggles to just stay alive. Double stun nailed in, and Method Black close it out here on game 3 and take the lead.
Pew pew, what it do? That's going to be number 2. Method Black now in the driver's seat. There's that victory music. They are going to not be on match point, though. Here, you got to keep that in your mind. Best of 7 series. How'd you like this composition, Zico, in practice? I know we kind of theory crafted a little bit about it on the desk, but now that we actually do get to see them go head-to-head, what'd you think?
I really like this composition from Method Black, and it really feels like Wildcard Gaming, they're still guessing what they have that actually beats it. I want to see Method Black lock this in blind, because so far they've been doing really, really well on this comp against the Wizards. My only concern, of course, is that cleave mirror, but I'm not even sure if the Resto Druid would potentially be better than the Mistweaver. As long as Chaz can keep his mana for this late into dampening, he still has enough left in the tank to go for those Way of the Crane pushes. And of course, Way of the Crane is just such a powerful cooldown in dampening as well. You just really can't count out the Mistweavers in this meta. I said it when we saw Numbness already on Friday pick this class. I thought Mistweavers just looked super good. They're super mana efficient. They have extra additional offense, instant CCs. They have tons of mobility. And from Looney, I want to see him go off the Shaman. If they're going to play that comp, I want to see him on the Resto Druid because of Shadow Meld. Shadow Meld makes it so those pets that are preventing him from drinking on the Shaman, they actually stop attacking you when you use that Shadow Meld. And then you can access, of course, your drink and stealth. You're not going to be able to resend those pets onto Looney either. So Shaman definitely... It was an interesting pick, but I think he needs to go off it.
Well, Method Black, they're in a position right now where we like the composition that they have. They could even lock it in on the blind, and it looks like it could be a strong line of play for them. But I want to jump back in our time machine right now, Super Tees, and go back all the way.
We have a time machine?
We have a time machine.
Yep. Why didn't you tell me about this before?
Jump back all the way to an hour ago. Hey, that's as far back as we can go.
That's very inefficient usage of a time machine,
As far back as we can go. And we look at this match, and we look at how this match actually played out. And now, when we're looking at this match in real time, why was Wildcard Gaming able to have such a dominant win if we find Method Black in a position where they can just lock this in blind, potentially?
I mean, it's just what Zico has been saying. It's just the Mistweaver. It's a change of healer, and I think it's working out really well for Chaz overall. Although I think his Way of the Crane usage could be better into deep dampening, but he's at least doing a solid job of making sure that they get there. I do like that he switched off and made a Gnome, as the escape artist for Gnome is quite effective against balanced druids to escape that solar beam silence. So it was a smart decision on his part, and he was able to extend the fight long enough for his team, and Swapsy ultimately was carrying the game at the end with crowd control and damage. So well done by Method Black, and that gets them a lead.
Yeah, having that root solar beam, that's a wombo combo that we see quite a lot. A lot of the EU players were using it as well. You can basically get the healer in those entangling roots. They can't move. You drop down the solar beam. They can't cast at all. It was one of the ways, really in Legion too, was where we saw it quite a bit, because Moonkins at like BlizzCon and BFA were really just focused on having that trait where they could get out the biggest star surges possible, very bursty. But it was so crucial to get wins. Now Moonkins, what are they really doing? Is it all about getting into dampening and getting Incarn and just getting some damage?
Well, I feel like for Moonkins right now, the main moment in the game where they actually have significant damage is going to be that Incarnation. The damage over time effects just don't seem that significant early on in the game. A little bit later on, it does become very scary as well. That Incarnation, like we kind of talked about, is strong. Moonkins also have good amounts of crowd control with the Root Solar Beam, with the Cyclone. If they can get that off in long crowd control change, they can definitely pull out the game. It's so funny.
No, I was just thinking about how we have to go back to the present, because we're still in the past right now. So, yeah.
But yeah, I think for a Moonkin to actually close out the game, two things need to happen. Either they bring it to a late game, or they get a lot of Lucky Star Surge crits.
Don't get left behind, get in the time machine. Buckle up.
You're the worst pilot ever for a time machine.
I've got a time machine, guys. Let's go back an hour in time.
We're in the present now. And in the present, we have traveled straight to Hook Point. We got a nice small map here, and this is something that I think we definitely could expect as well, Zico. You don't need to have a time machine to know that we were going to a small map.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we should also mention is that this is not Wildcard Gaming on match point. This is a best of 7, as it is the grand final. So even if Wildcard Gaming were to lose here, they still have more lives left on the line. Hook Point, though, what we could expect here potentially would be one of those cleave mirrors. I don't think we're going to be seeing Resto Druids healing either of those teams, just because of we've been hammering on it the whole day. But Resto Druids, they like big maps. They can sneak off and get those strings while their healing over time effects are doing their work for them, and then come back in with that mana lead later on. Not going to be quite as easy to do on a small map like Hook Point. I think we're going to see Method Black lock in either. Assassination Rogue is super good on a small map like Hook Point because the Assassination Rogue, of course, puts out a lot of pressure, and the main weakness is that they don't have too much mobility. Could see Waz being thrown in, but again, I wouldn't expect it when they lock in the blind. I would much rather see Chaz on that Mistweaver, again, playing the same setup that they played last game and kind of force Wildcard Gaming to go on that Windwalker DK again. And that game was super close on Tolvir Arena. And Chaz is going to lock in the Resto Druid, and we are going to see the DK and the Demon Hunter. I'm not sure why.
I was going to ask
why would he not play the Mistweaver in this match? I really don't understand that.
Yeah, I'm a little curious as well, because when we were just talking about everything right now, the confidence that we had in Method Black to be able to take down the series and not switch their comp, first thing that you said was that Monk, was Chaz healing on that Mistweaver Sid. Why do you think we see Chaz go back to the Druid in this situation?
I mean, I'm trying to run through the options in my head. They surely can't expect Elemental Shaman on this map in particular. Even if they did, I still think the Mistweaver was the better pick overall. I think it's going to be difficult for Chaz to be able to get drinks, and I'm wondering what Wildcard Gaming do with this. I actually want to see them... I want to see an Arms Warrior composition is what I want to see, but I don't know if they're going to give it to me. It's just, I feel like nobody has tried that. That traditionally has been the Death Knight owner comp. You just farm Death Knights as Arms Warriors, so they have all the 3 tools to counteract Death Strike, but
I think the main strength is just that the Druid can survive easier than the Monk.
Yeah, if Wildcard Gaming goes with Windwalker Death Knight once again, and they just try to all-on the healer, Chaz is going to be feeling a lot more comfortable to survive that, because as a Mistweaver Monk, that's a really difficult situation to be in. And if Chaz doesn't necessarily have the reps, perfect port positioning, perfect cooldown rotation, it's going to be exceptionally difficult. Whereas Chaz, we know he has survived against these cleaves time and time again on this Resto Druid, and I think it might just be a comfort pick, especially if Wildcard Gaming goes for that all-in.
We've seen him play like 30 specializations today, right? We do know that this is potentially still his home. This is still potentially where he does feel the most comfortable, but we're going to see Wildcard Gaming. They are going to have their Resto Druid as well in Looney, and then Blizzo and Zeepai with that Walking Dead cleave. This is going to be... Can this one be a little bit faster because the map's so small with these melee cleaves, or do we expect both teams to still try to play for a little bit later on into dampening to actually get the damage they need to win the game?
Well, the last time we saw these compositions meet, it was on Tolvaron Arena, and Chaz was actually really vulnerable as a target. He managed to get across the map, and in Tolvaron Arena, it becomes difficult for Melee to reconnect. But on this map, I feel like Wildcard Gaming, they're going to have a much easier time just sitting on Chaz, really punishing him. And if you can get through the Bark Skin, you get through the Iron Bark, that's a huge moment, a huge window of opportunity you have to actually close out the game. It was that moment, that opportunity was delayed on Tolvaron Arena, so I do expect the game to be much quicker on Hook Point.
Well, Wildcard Gaming won on Tolvaron Arena, also because of Blade's Edge, because Looney was able to go and get those drinks. I think what you're saying makes complete sense. Chaz is going to be on the clock here. If Wildcard Gaming can get good all-ins on him and get good uptime, Chaz will for sure go down first. But if Method Black can kind of weather that storm, I think they have a big mana advantage as well. And Wildcard Gaming won't be able to actually abuse that drinking that kind of allowed them to survive, because essentially what it was Looney went for a drink, Blizzo was kind of left to fend for himself, and he had those big pillars to kite around and port away to, and just a big map to kind of use to survive while Looney was drinking. He's not going to have that option here. If Looney ever goes for a drink, we could see Blizzo just immediately be taken down. So it's interesting to see both teams have a clear win condition here. Method Black want to win on mana. Wildcard Gaming want to win by killing Chaz, most likely.
I do want to say, too, that when we do go to a small map like this, we have a lot of data points with the small maps and the large maps, and you can start to really think about, if we go further into the series and the map pool does dwindle, how the rest of the series is going to look. Because when you get in a best of 7, you don't have as much to work with.
Mugambala for the first time ever in a tournament?
Mugambala Game 7.
Wait,
the prophecy.
Is it the first time ever in a tournament, actually?
Oh, no,
we've seen it.
It's not. We've seen
It'd be the first time this year.
This year, yeah.
Okay, first time in 2019.
Yeah, so we have seen it at a tournament. I actually think we saw it opening week of BlizzCon. I could be wrong with that, but I believe that we did see it on one of the biggest stages.
We don't see it often, though.
I really feel like that is a map teams could craft really good strategies on.
It's really good for Mistweaver.
Yeah, I think
Like, it's probably the best map of the pool for Mistweaver.
It's actually 3 different maps glued together. That's the best part about Mugen Bala. It does seem like a map where you really could try to figure out a strategy. It's one of those maps that is unique in that way, where maybe teams in the future will practice more and more war games there to be using it as a tool in their arsenal. But as of right now, we're back to the land of the chickens. Bok, Wildcard Gaming versus Method Black, who is going to be able to take this one. If Method wins here, they are on match point.
Let's hope that Wildcard Gaming don't choke on the chicken here in game number 4, or Method Black will advance forward to match point. Raikou securing crowd control on Looney early on and gunning down Zeepai as a priority target. Blizzo is still running that grapple weapon whenever you see that icon next to Swapsy's frame. Any box next to a health is crowd control, and it denies the player's ability to interact in the match and will be an opportunity to net a kill. We do actually see the Druids as the targets early on. Tons of damage here from Blizzo. Touch of Death explodes, dealing devastation, but Chaz does not panic, and this is exactly why he wanted that Druid. He wants something that he's the most comfortable with to deal with that stress.
I mean, he didn't panic, but he also used Trinket and Barkskin, so he's going to be feeling not that confident going into the next stun. Unfortunately, Chaz now using Iron Bark preemptively before the stun. Looney in a lot of trouble as well. It could just be an outright healer race in this matchup, not necessarily about mana, but which Druid rotates through their defensive cooldowns better. Right now, Looney's in a massive lead with his Trinket, but Chaz, he has the Darkness from Raikou to fall back on. Darkness drops a little purple circle on the ground. That's going to be immuning most incoming damage onto Chaz, and that's a big safety net that Method Black has.
Yeah, at this point, Looney is actually behind on mana. It's very difficult on hook point to drink as it's such a small map. You can't get the distance you need. Both teams have Death Knights, so they both have ghouls that can chase down the opposing healers and keep them in combat, which then denies drinking. Looney gets gripped into the fight. Method Black trying to start something here, but not finding too much damage off the back of that death grip. Looney makes a quick getaway with that Ursul's Vortex. It seems like they still want to try and chase him. Swapsy unable to stay on target. Raikou imprisons Looney, so Swapsy can move closer potentially, or maybe split his damage. We have seen Raikou and Swapsy often go after their own targets rather than intervening on the same one. This can cause a Restoration Druid to overextend his mana, having to expend multiple rejuvenations onto the entire team. Grapple weapon was used here onto Raikou to deny damage. However, I feel the grapple weapon and leg sweep should just be used at the same time together, one by one, on Swapsy to deny Death Strike for an extended period of time and try and burst him down. I still haven't seen Blizzo implement that strategy. Death Grip the healer in Chaz, stun the entire team, then grapple weapon Swapsy out. Paralysis Chaz perhaps at the end of the stun, something along these lines. The crowd control from Wildcard Gaming definitely could be better. Their damage is there.
Yeah, Chaz getting low. Barkskin, will it be enough? Ring of Peace gets dropped out by Blizzo, but unfortunately that was very misplaced, and Chaz was able to easily escape, but points for the effort there on Blizzo as he does reconnect to Chaz. Can Zeepai get there as well? And actually, Swapsy in this match, he's playing Gnome, so wants to have a little bit more uptime in this matchup, get out of the chains of ice to chase down someone if he necessarily needs to. Touch of Death now on Chaz as he's looking to kite away. Iron Bark was used. No Trinket, no Iron Bark, no Barkskin for Chaz. Still such a vulnerable target. Looney falling behind on mana, though, as Swapsy looks to continue the pressure and force him in this situation where he's continuously using his mana, and eventually it will run out. Blizzo on 50% health as well, could be a vulnerable swap target. And I think that Method Black, they have an opportunity in this match to put pressure all over the place. I like the swaps onto Looney, but make sure you're doing as much consistent damage to Blizzo and Zeepai as possible.
All right, everybody tuning in here for the grand final in the European region. We've got a best of 7 ahead of ourselves. More games to be had. You don't want to go anywhere as these teams are so evenly matched in not only mechanical skill, but also class and composition diversity. Method Black are 2 wins away from taking this, but of course, Wildcard Gaming earlier in the day 3-0'd Method Black, so this is actually surprising. Method Black have improved so drastically just in this single tournament. Looney on the ropes here with pressure mounting, with Swapsy on target, able to connect a ton of damage. Looney overextends his defensive lineup, overexpends his mana, and now Method Black have a lead.
Yep, that is a significant lead as well. Looney really with not too much left. Swapsy and Raikou, they need to focus on damage as much as possible. Really tax Looney as he just caught into the 68 stun. Full leg sweep on Chaz. There's still potential here for Wildcard Gaming. Although they're behind on mana, they might be able to just take down Chaz outright. Iron Bark was used to deflect that attack. Barskin available, so if he gets caught in a stun, although he doesn't have Trinket, he will be able to activate that damage reduction with Barkskin. Chaz going to have to be in bear form as well if he really wants to limit the damage that they're able to do. And Looney, although he's sneaking away and looking for drinks in this matchup, it's just really difficult. It's such a small map. Demon Hunter with so much mobility, able to easily shut that down. All you have to do, use a dash over, throw a glaive, and all of a sudden Looney is just wasting his time looking for those drinks. But it may be something that definitely ends up mattering a lot in this matchup.
Chaz now under fire. Touch of death, tons of damage. Blizzo wants this game and to tie it up here in the best of 7 grand finals. Touch of death about to explode, dealing tons of damage. Wapsie gets stunned on the trinket by Z-Pie. Huge pressure. Chaz barely clinging to life, jumping into another stun as Looney looks to try and secure the match for his team. Ursul's Vortex pulling Chaz back into the fight. Chaz hangs on now. Z-Pie falling behind. Mana is completely tapped on the side of Wildcard Gaming. Chaz still has a bit left in the tank. He manages to make it out alive, but that's 3 out of 9 of Chaz's lives in this tournament here today. Blizzo gets bursted. Looney still has nothing, and Method Black are looking to put Wildcard Gaming on match point.
They cannot believe that Chaz is still alive, and Blizzo ultimately falls. Method Black showing dominance. Such a close call, but managed to stay calm, cool, and collected and pull out a victory.
The resolve there shown by them is absolutely outstanding. Method Black, it looked like Chaz was going to go down. He turns it around. It looked excellent. They're going to be able to find themselves on match point.
Just flawless defense there, honestly. Method Black barely surviving that last attack, and that's what it came down to as well. I really, even though it didn't work out for Wildcard Gaming, I really like that Looney also pushed in to try to get that triple DR bash as well, just to give them an extra second where Chaz isn't actually doing anything. Beautiful stunts in general on the trinket as well. But it comes down to the win condition that we talked about, and also now the Mistweaver pick, or the lack of the Mistweaver pick, makes a lot more sense. There it is, beautiful stun on his trinket. You can see Chaz is so close, playing perfect, switching between the forms, and Looney bashing up the leap there. I really thought Chaz was going to go down. He gets the Swift Mend off, goes back into bear form with that Frenzied Regen, has the Iron Bark still active, and there it is. The storm is weathered. At this point, you know that you can't really do much as Wildcard Gaming. Chaz still had a lot of mana left in his tank. Looney gonna be completely out of mana at this point. Iron Bark as well is not gonna be enough here to save Blizzo from Raikou and Swapsy's claws as Raikou trinkets out of that stun to finish up the game. And this composition really is being well played by both teams, honestly. Both of them playing to their strengths. We saw Wildcard Gaming going after Chaz ruthlessly throughout the match. So many close calls like that one. And then we also saw, of course, Method Black going for those drink stops. If just one of them goes through, that's a lost game essentially, because they're going to have so much more uptime onto Chaz. So really great job.
You look at both of these teams, and there are just so many times you remember calling out one of them as an MVP. They're 2 stacked rosters, but today it is all Chaz, an absolute MVP. And the question is, are they going to be able to close it out with the flexibility that he has offered? Weak as a tuning knob is just which specialization Chaz has been playing.
Yeah, it's just all about the healer specs and having Chaz being so flexible. That's really the name of the game here. And Method Black, they're really such an impressive team, because we saw them even in the previous tournament get knocked down by the Chalky Milkman, then come back in, make that deep lower bracket run, come back into the final, and then beat them out, just adapting from their previous series and learning those lessons that were there. Same thing here. They get stomped 3-0 by Wildcard Gaming. They win their lower bracket game, and then they come back here and they just look like a completely different team. Method Black is just like water, you know, they're just adapting on cooldown, and we know how important it is to be hydrated in this meta.
What is the cooldown of adapting?
1 minute.
All right, well, if Method Black is water, what is Wildcard Gaming, Super Tees?
Lava.
Lava?
I don't know.
Lava. I mean, I didn't know either, but lava?
Lava versus water. That is the only way to describe the matchup that has been thrown in front of us. Method Black is like water, and Wildcard Gaming was on absolute fire, but the lava has cooled like an igneous rock. Wildcard Gaming's strategy has hardened and has started to crumble.
That's what I was
That was really good.
That was
poetic.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We need to see this get loosened back up. And if you've ever plugged in a lava lamp, sometimes it takes time for that lava to get heated back up, to really start being wiggly and jiggly again. And when you look at Wildcard Gaming, they just don't have enough time to heat up here. Only one game left.
Wildcard Gaming, you have to give it some more wiggly and jiggly, I guess, in this series.
You know, it's not my job to do the analysis. It's your job. But this is about as wiggly and jiggly as it does get. Wildcard Gaming are going to be able to deliver.
Yeah, they'll be bringing in the Restoration Shaman. I mean, according to North America, the Restoration Shaman should be superior in this matchup. We'll have to see if Wildcard Gaming can execute and what Method Black does exactly. I think Wildcard Gaming is going to have, I mean, it was such a close call training down Chaz in that last matchup. They could potentially do it once again. If Looney can throw in a few purges, maybe that's enough to close out the game. If they want to play more conservatively, I don't feel like that is necessarily the advantage that they have. Looney really will have to hold on tight in this matchup, as I think they have to get a kill on Chaz.
How interesting is it to see Looney become the healer that we expect to be the aggressor?
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting, but Looney has a lot of different skill sets just at his arsenal. He is a BlizzCon champion on that Restoration Shaman, and I know you can't really tell when he's playing Druid because he's so good at it, but he has always had the Shaman in his back pocket as well. What I think is very interesting as well in this matchup is now the tables have completely turned. The cards have flipped, because Method Black is now the team that has to go after Looney and try to punish the Shaman pick on the small map, or they will be the ones who lose out on that mana war, because, like we mentioned earlier, Druid on a small map, it's going to be hard to get those drinks out. And yeah, the Demon Hunter, I don't think he's going to be able to just burn out Looney's mana and still win with that win condition.
The reversal that we see between these two series really is pretty crazy. The main difference here, of course, that we have mentioned quite a few times, best of 5 throughout the entirety of the tournament until we get to the grand finals, and then it will be a best of 7. We're going to see the same thing in North America again. So how do you think Method Black does try to punish this here? We already heard a little bit from Zico, but just let's really make sure that we focus on this, because it can be the determining factor of not only this game, but the entire series.
Well, just like we saw from Trill yesterday, and Raikou today, honestly, he needs to be consistently landing these mana rifts on Looney, looking for opportunities throughout the game. Swapsy can grip Looney in. They can get triple Chaos Nova stuns onto all 3 members, and that's when they can really let their cleave damage rip, and also get these mana rifts on Looney to really tax his mana, because I don't think Looney's team will end up going down until he is burned out completely, like we saw in the last game. So it's really going to be up to Method Black to survive, potentially Chaz living in all in, but it's not going to be as easy. I think Chaz on the Restoration Druid, his mana is going to get used up a lot quicker than the Restoration Shaman.
Yeah, and the other thing to note, folks, is there was a big change coming into this tournament with mana regeneration, and we see a lot of our healers running out of mana before they even get into dampening sometimes. And when we look at Looney, we also need to be thinking about how much he really will be able to purge. It's something that has gotten more expensive, but we've seen the tables be turned. On Dalaran Sewers, are we going to see this house of cards come crashing down?
Looney is going to have to certainly be wiggly and jiggly to escape the attacks of this team, as he is expected to be the target. We've seen Shaman's Grip stunned and trained for most of the day. Looney predicted this attack and already had Earthen Wall Totem placed down. Good plays, but they're continuing to gun for him, and it's match point.
Yeah, Looney's going to be able to escape right now. We talked about the spirit, or the strength of that pack spirit for the Restoration Shaman. Looney already trading out his Astral Shift. Now Zeepy in a little bit of trouble, trading out AMZ, or Anti-Magic Shell. Looney now having to play catch-up, looking for some healing waves. Nice stun there by Blizzo as they're looking to get some damage rolling onto Swapsy. Chaz's band is doing quite well so far. Looney able to kite away in that Ghost Wolf. Raikou needs to reconnect. Lands a Mana Rift, burning a little bit more of Looney's mana. And as the game goes on, those Mana Rifts really add up.
All right, Looney on the run. That puppy NASCAR going to be running laps here on Dalaran Sewers. We see Grapple Weapon selected again for Blizzo, however used onto Raikou instead to deny damage. I still would really like to see them go for a committed attack towards Swapsy. Instead, they're going after Chaz. It might be a healer race. Chaz is really disrespecting the damage here from Wildcard Gaming, not making any sort of cooldown trades. In the meantime, Looney got caught in the stun and opted to use Gladiator's Medallion to dodge Mana Rift and avoid its mechanics so he can maintain his mana just a tad bit longer. Ursul's Vortex pulling Zeepy downstairs. Really good placement on that Tornado, allowing Chaz to easily get away. Zipai is still marching his way across the fight, attacking Swapsy and Raikou on his way over. And that is important as a melee class, that if you want to attack the enemy healer, if he gets away from you, attack somebody else while moving your character to the healer. Don't just simply target the healer and run at him. So he is maximizing his damage. Now Chaz finally being connected onto by two members, trying to wild charge to safety, grip back into the fight. He had a close call on hook point. He's dipping low in this position as well, just unable to escape. Is Chaz going to be able to escape?
I don't know. That's definitely a good question. Ironbark does get used. Still trying to get behind the pillar, but Zipai and Blizzo relentless. Chaz barely hanging on. Darkness has to get traded out by Raikou to keep him alive. Chaz, after that, it is going to be a nightmare situation. Looney getting gripped in, Mana Rift lands, but Looney's doing quite well on Mana. It doesn't matter. If they can get another stun on Chaz before Barskin comes up, Chaz is going to be in a lot of trouble.
15 seconds. Can Zipai make it to Chaz? 10 seconds. 9 seconds. Zipai making his way over. Potentially Looney goes for some purges here. 4 seconds. They're going to lose that window of opportunity. 2 seconds, and now Chaz has defense that he can trade for an attack, but the pressure has been mounting significantly. Raikou continually going after these Mana Rifts, but we saw it currently now, though, before I go into that, Chaz being attacked in a stun, a dangerous moment for him and his team. Looney opting to not go for any purges, doesn't want to expend that mana just yet. Maybe deeper into dampening, he will look to make that move. Ring of Peace knocking Chaz back into Zipai's clutches as Blizzo's got Touch of Death rolling and about to explode gigantic damage, but Blizzo now in reversal. Pressure put on, and the trade has to be made. Looney's Spirit Link Totem, a vital defensive cooldown to keep Blizzo aggressive, and it does seem to be the case that they just want to run Chaz over. Can Chaz stay alive and secure his team a tournament victory, or will he fall to the pressure? It looks like he's cracking. He's hanging on by a thread, but ultimately Wildcard Gaming take him out here and stay in the tournament. 2 more wins on their part, and they can take this entire thing.
It could be an uphill battle for them, but we've already seen them take down the likes of Method. Wildcard Gaming not letting up yet. They're going to be able to take another game here. And how important was Looney to this equation, Zico?
Well, it just gives them a lot more freedom to have that Resto Shaman on their roster, keeping them aggressive, dropping that Spirit Link, and allowing them to just stay aggressive. Even here towards the end, we actually did see, I think, 1 or 2 purges come out from Looney. You see right there, Blizzo drops low, Looney comes in with the Spirit Link, goes back into Ghost Wolf momentarily right there to keep healing himself up, and then he gets back in here, able to dish out a couple of purges. Right there's one, then he gets stunned up, of course, to shut that down, and that's just extra utility that you have to use to stop Looney from actually being aggressive. You can see Looney is going to be chasing as well, together with Blizzo, together with Zipai. There's another purge right there, purging off another healing over time effect. And I think the big story, of course, here is going to be the map as well. The map just makes it very difficult for Chaz to kite. We see he has to go from one side back to the other behind the pillar, back again, and keep kiting that way. And he just gets so much uptime.
Well, Sid, as you already mentioned, Wildcard Gaming cannot be all smiles yet. I doubt that they're smiling yet, because the real thing that they do need to be thinking about is how you string together enough wins to take down the entire series. Before we got here, we definitely favored them based off of what we saw them do to Method Black, quickly dispatching them and sending them to the lower bracket. So what is their best line of play? What do you think they do for when Zico's saying maps are going to be super important? How do they pick around that?
I mean, if they go to the bigger maps, I feel like we've played so many at this point. I'm trying to actually keep track of what's still available. There's a couple of neutral maps, so maybe they go for that safe middle ground here towards the end of the series and try to not pigeonhole themselves into something that Method Black could use in their advantage. I think a neutral pick here is good, as they're still on match point. Then reconsider their options. Looney can also play Mistweaver, so a Mugumbala double Mistweaver. There's lots of places where you can hide your portal, and you can basically portal almost 300 yards distance on that map from the top end of the balcony down to the starting rooms. I think that would be pretty fun to see if it ends up happening, although it probably won't, because anything that I say could be interesting or fun never seems to happen. So it's unlikely, but I think Tiger's Peak is the safe map for them right now.
Tiger's Peak, safe map. We also have some smaller ones still in the pool as well. I'm pretty sure Ruins is still going to be in the pool.
Black or Cold.
Black or Cold is also going to. So there are a lot of small maps still in the pool, so how does that actually impact things here, Ben?
Well, if they pick a small map, I don't think we're going to see Chaz on the Restoration Druid once again, because if they do end up going to a small map, I think locking in the Windwalker Death Knight Resto Shaman would be an easy choice here for Wildcard Gaming, just to see if Method really has an answer for that. I'm not exactly sure what composition would even work. Potentially, maybe they need to bring in the Windwalker Death Knight and try to mirror and get Wazwalker into the fight. We haven't really seen him too much in these series so far yet today.
I want to see Tiger's Peak, Mistweaver, Chaz, again with the Death Knight and the Demon Hunter. I think that's their overall best bet. That's what got them the most amount of wins. And I think the reason why they don't pick it is because of the small maps. They're scared of Chaz going down like he did on that Druid. Instead, though, we are going to see Ruins of Lordaeron.
It's a solid map pick here, Sid.
Yeah,
I think it's a really solid.
Map.
It's a solid map to lock in here, Sid. What do you think? What do you think of this map?
Well, Rich, it would be a fitting final resting place as it is a cemetery.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that. We're on match point. Method Black could take this one home here. And also the smaller map, does it play into their favor?
Well, it really depends on what Wildcard Gaming decides to pick. It is a very small map, like we've been talking about. The main pillar is, of course, in the middle. Normally, we see like Windwalker Death Knight compositions like this map. Potentially, we see Chaz maybe getting in on the Paladin. We've seen him pick that today with the Windwalker Death Knight mirror to try to outlast his opponent, especially if Looney goes on the Restoration Shaman. Potentially, he'll be a little bit more vulnerable to an all-in from Method Black. So that's definitely a strategy we could be seeing implemented on the small map. It really depends on what Wildcard Gaming decides to go with.
Yeah, and now Ruins of Lordaeron. It's so funny. I do feel like, you know, Sid used to make that joke every now and then, but it didn't happen that often. More and more now, this has kind of been that map when somebody is on match point, trying to take it smaller, trying to take it to close quarters and actually end things. And we're going to have to see the comp that Wildcard Gaming does bring here. We've already talked quite a bit about how healers have just been the key here. And when you have healers like Looney and Chaz, you kind of know that that can be where the focal point is in the matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, especially what Chaz locks in, but I want to see what Wildcard Gaming locks in, of course, as well, but the Mistweaver isn't too terrible of a pick on this map. Ooh. Frostmage, Ellie, Resto Druid, so we could see a lot of things. We could see a mirror matchup. We could see the Mistweaver again come in against this. We could also see, there's a lot of options here. We could see Rogue Mage come in.
I would bet that we see Demon Hunter, Death Knight, Resto Druid. That would be my bet if I was a betting man.
Are you a betting man? How much are we putting on the table here? How much gold?
How much gold?
All in.
Dude, you used to go hard in the guild with the Gamba, dude.
10,000 gold.
10,000 gold? That's a lot of gold.
What do you think they're going to go with?
I mean, we already saw Rogue Mage against the Elemental Shaman. I think it was Elemental Shaman Boomkin. I think Rogue Mage is actually a decent pick into this.
It's a decent pick, but is it a decent map?
That's the problem.
That is
the thing is, on the small map,
I think it's still a good map.
I don't have as much faith in this composition on the smaller map. I really don't. I think that Mara will get run down quite easily. I think Looney's not going to have much room to kite away and avoid mana rifts. And I think that Method Black will be looking quite healthy.
Honestly, I agree with you. I think DK Demon Hunter for Method Black. The only thing I'm a little bit torn on is the healer. The rest of Druid, of course, is going to be much harder to crowd control. It's going to be harder to take down in swaps. You're going to be able to go for those drinks as well, but the map isn't that great to drink on. On the flip side, Mistweaver is going to add some other things as well, like the Way of the Crane and Late Dampening. It's going to be very easy to deal with just the damage in general because of Counteract Magic and Flame Shock. I'm not sure. I want to see it with the Druid as well, I think.
I think
it's the overall best bet.
Yeah, I think Mistweaver is a little bit too susceptible to the Frost Mage and the Elemental Shaman. All of a sudden you have to deal with Polymorph and Hex, Counterspell, and Wind Shear. And I think that's one of the downfalls as a Mistweaver monk is playing against mages. And I can see you're taking some notes.
Wizard War.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to have that
Everybody
Wizard War.
get their wands.
Well, we saw Method Black play this match.
Oh, wait. Yeah, we've actually got wands.
Wait, where's my wand?
They're wands, okay?
No.
Be creative, man. Where's your imagination?
All right, we're not doing this right now. This is we need order here.
Do you want to be a wizard?
So
I am a very qualified wizard, okay? So
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more qualified than Sid. But when we look at Method Black and what they have locked in, why do you think they go for this Wizard War here?
Well, I think with the changes that have happened, Method Black has opted to go for the Moonkin because it will be more damage than that Frost Mage. And right now, damage equals mana for the healer, and the math just checks out. Method Black's just going to be looking to out-pressure Wildcard Gaming in this matchup. Maro's main advantage is Polymorph, and now all of a sudden he has to Polymorph a Balance Druid and a Restoration Druid, which is not exactly an easy task, so he's just going to be looking for damage, and I think his damage is worse than Waz's. So
I think his damage is worse than Waz's too, Zico.
Well, the Moonkin in late dampening is going to have that Incarnation. It's going to be big damage. You're going to be able to do a lot of damage with that Moonkin. I think if the game goes late, Method Black has the favor, but we've seen this matchup being played before. The Frost Mage has won as well against it. It's not a one-sided matchup. These two teams met last week, and Method Black managed to play, I think, 1-1 against this comp.
Now let me ask you, do you think the mana changes change the matchup at all? Because we haven't seen this particular matchup since last week. Now, with the mana regeneration, which team has the edge? Zico?
I would say Wildcard Gaming actually has the edge. No, I would say Method Black has the edge because Method Black are more likely to be able to force Wildcard Gaming to run back and have to retreat, and when they do that, Chaz can drink. I don't think the Frost Mage is going to be able to dish out that same big chunk of damage to force Chaz to go and drink in the same way.
All right, well, we're headed to Ruins of Lordaeron. Method Black can close it out here. This is the second cup of the year. This is the grand final for EU. Wildcard Gaming can extend it all the way to a Game 7, but they have to watch out because Method Black is going to try to close.
Yeah, we've seen it all in this series so far. Wizards versus Wizards, melee versus melee, but it all comes down to potentially this game for Method Black. Wildcard Gaming looking to claim this game and stay in this tournament. If Method Black can win this series on their map and compositional advantage, they will claim the second cup in a row.
And even if they don't, they've still got another map left in the pool. We could quite easily go to a Game 7 grand finals here in the European region. Let's see who ends up coming out ahead. I do think Method Black have set themselves up for success, bringing in the Balanced Druid here on Ruins of Lordaeron. Can rain down devastation with these Incarnation Star Surges. Waz currently activating that and gunning down for Maro. Looney easily deflecting it, though. Now Maro activating Icy Veins with an Ebon Bolt being channeled towards Waz, but he predicted the attack, got into bear form, and reduced a significant amount of its damage. Good reaction time, but now Maro switches his attention to Swapsy. Chaz has to respond to deny that kill with Iron Bark. Now Wildcard Gaming make another switch over. Now we can see Swapsy and Waz both being pressured. It does appear to be that Wildcard Gaming are just a tad bit more coordinated here in game number 6. I do believe, of this best of 7 finals.
Yep, it is game number 6.
I can count.
2 and 3.
6 is pretty
high.
high.
You weren't confident in your math there.
I mean, I'm a musician. I only go up to 4 normally, so 6 is pretty tough.
All right, that's a lot of fingers and toes. I do agree. Waz now caught into a lightning lasso. Good burst here by Zipai. Maro doesn't really have any follow-up damage just yet. Waz going to be retreating onto this tomb, and that's one little advantage that they have is they can sort of weave in and out on this tomb. Maro's not going to be able to channel out the Frost Bolts quite as easily, but with the Blizzard drop down, everyone will be snared for Wildcard Gaming on Method Black, and that's an opportunity for them to get out a little bit more damage. That's one thing that might be a factor as this game plays out.
I do expect this game to be playing out into dampening, and at that point it could come down to just a couple of critical decisions. Huge damage. Looney gets swapped to. It's match point. The pressure is on. Multiple Maledicts committed as Looney escapes around the center pillar to safety, but a close call nonetheless.
Yeah, that was a scary moment for Looney, having to use his Barkskin and Iron Bark. Gladiator Safeguard going to be proccing as well, so if they can get another swap like that, I think they might be able to take Looney down, but I think now that Looney realizes he's such a vulnerable target, Maro and Zipai are going to have to help him out a little bit sooner, stopping the Lightning Lasso from Swapsy, which is really the ability that set up that tremendous amount of damage onto Looney.
Ooh, the reversal Lightning Lasso there by Swapsy, trying to mix things up. Mana advantage right now for Wildcard Gaming. We have not seen these compositions go head-to-head with the recent mana changes, so we will be finding out who actually gets the edge here pretty soon. Swapsy taking the brunt of this exchange. Windshear actually landed on Chaz, interrupting his heals and forcing an Astral Shift from Swapsy. Big attack here. here for Wildcard Gaming. Big objectives forced. Nice Cyclone timing as well. Wildcard Gaming are definitely on point, looking to stay alive in this finals.
Big burst on Swapsy as he's looking to retreat behind the pillar with no Astral Shift. Still vulnerable. Chaz keeping him alive with that preemptive Iron Bark. And Looney surprisingly ahead on mana, which I didn't necessarily expect. I thought the Moonkin damage would be superior to the Frost Mage damage, and that means that Looney would have less mana, but ultimately Chaz has had to use way more. I think it's just the target selection from Wildcard Gaming. They're doing significant bursts on multiple targets, and that's really forcing Chaz to tax his mana. Right now, Chaz looking for a drink, unfortunately not able to find it. Waz with his Incarnation up, trying to get aggressive here. Looney charging in right now, trying to slow down Chaz, manages to find it. Waz sort of caught all alone in this frozen orb, in this blizzard. Now Looney in center field. Waz and Swapsy turning their attention onto him.
Yep, Looney is exposed as he tried to push forward and deny Chaz's drink. Anytime these healers push out into center field, you can almost certainly expect the teams to switch their attention and turret a ton of damage towards them. Looney now positioned far on the back line. Zeepai moving in to try and maybe push back anyone denying him, but he's not able to actually escape and find that drink opportunity. Chaz now off screen to the right, I do believe, is sneaking away for a drink of his own potentially, but at the same time, Swapsy is exposed, 3 seconds away from that Astral Shift, ducking around the corner, catching a couple of healing surges, and starting to re-stabilize as we are in the finals. Method Black are on match point. Everything on the line right now for Wildcard Gaming. They dominated Method Black earlier in the day, but now that Method Black have learned and evolved, they have now shown that they are more than capable of taking down Wildcard Gaming, so it is now up to them to step up to the next level.
Yeah, they just need to make sure they're executing with their strategies. Maro with a nice Ray of Frost on Swapsy. Swapsy trying to respond with the Stormkeeper, but gets interrupted. Maro been doing a good job making sure he gets out consistent pressure in this matchup. Vaynes has already been used, not going to be available for another 2 minutes. Looney and Chaz have sort of equalized on mana at this point. Chaz snuck away for a drink, which is going to be important in this matchup. If they can get out of combat, these Restoration Druids can use drink, which will eventually start regenerating their mana after 5 seconds and give them a huge lead. And that's what some of these games do come down to today. When your healer's out of mana, he can no longer use spells to keep you alive. And that is the objective for both teams, to make sure that they are taxing that mana as quickly as possible. Now at 4% dampening, things are going to get a little bit more interesting in this matchup as it becomes more difficult for these healers to keep their party members alive.
Chaz starts off dampening with a significant lead, and that is great for his team as they just want to close this out and take a quick 4-2 against Wildcard Gaming. If they can maintain that lead moving forward, it definitely will do so. But now Zeepai gets bursted, Looney gets interrupted. Zeepai ducks around the corner quickly to try and catch a heal, but even still struggling to stabilize. And now Method Black can switch their attention to Maro, who's still exposed in center field. I would like to see them go after him. He blinks back to Looney at the side cart in that puddle of goo, but I think on that side of the map it's not advantageous. There's not enough points of line of sight. I think the tombstones on the left side is a much better place to play. Looney's repositioned now over there, but he gets caught in that lightning lasso. Barkskin, is it going to be enough? It does appear to be the case with Zeepai's support on those healing surges. Looney gets out alive.
Yeah, Chaz went for a drink once again. And that is just not the spot you want to be in for Wildcard Gaming. Looney's falling further and further behind in this matchup. And I really like what Method Black is doing, making these swaps onto Looney really taxes them, forcing Maro and Zeepai to come back and assist them as often as possible. And that allows Chaz a moment of breathing where he can actually go and escape and look for some drinks. See Maro trying to defend Looney in this matchup as he moves towards the starting room, but not going for a drink. Zeepai's been left behind. Looney has to make sure he's healing everyone up. Waz and Swapsy have so much pressure. All 3 members from Wildcard Gaming falling apart. Their team is just getting destroyed here in this match. Looney has to play catch-up. He has the Innervate up, which is going to be really important. He wants to take advantage of that Innervate, but that Lightning Lasso and Purge from Swapsy will completely deny Looney getting those heals off.
We normally expect Waz to save the day on Rogue, but here he's bringing out that balanced Druid to try and knock Wildcard Gaming out of the competition and secure a first-place finish. Can Waz deliver enough damage to find victory? We're going to be finding out here quite soon, with dampening ramping up to critical mass at 17%. Both Druids slowly draining themselves out of mana, a resource they require to cast healing spells and save their teammates. Looney currently caught in a stun lock combination as Method Black go for the healer throat, but now getting caught got overextended. Waz is getting bursted and potentially going down here. Are we going to a game 7? No. Waz stays alive. Looney now in trouble. Tons of damage flying in as he runs around the corner. Manages to stay in it, but now Maro gets swapped to and Zeepai gets swapped to. This is where the damage over time effects of Waz and Swapsy really start to sink in. Those rejuvenations cannot simply counteract those damage over time effects, and Looney will have to expend huge amounts of mana just simply to recover.
Yeah, Zeepai still low, and with no Iron Bark, he might have to use the Astral Shift. Cyclone gets traded out by Waz. Nicely done. Good control in the game so far. 22% dampening. Looney almost completely tapped on mana. Chaz way ahead. Things are looking better and better for Method Black in this matchup. They need some semblance of counter pressure here on Waz. He did use his Bark Skin, but he gets topped off quite easily by Chaz. Looney's still trying to escape, but Swapsy just does such a good job on that Elemental Shaman, making sure he's harassing the healer as often as possible, making sure he gets damaged. He's not allowed to escape for drinks. Then finds the Lightning Lasso onto Zeepai, pressuring him down a little bit. Now Chaz falling a little bit behind onto Swapsy. He gets low. Looney looking for a drink, and this is such a pivotal point in the matchup. If Looney can get a lot of mana here, this is going to put Wildcard Gaming back in the match. Unfortunately, not able to completely reset his mana, but did find enough to keep his team alive a little bit longer.
Looney ties the mana battle, but the pressure is still in favor of Method Black as dampening gets higher and higher. Cross crowd control initiation by Method Black as they look to close this match out. Zeepai is limited on defensive options, gets solar beamed on that Lightning Lasso. His only opportunity gets taken out of the match. Looney is still crowd controlled. Iron Bark is the only thing that stands between his team winning and losing this match right now, and it appears to be just enough defense for Zeepai to stay alive, but all three members are slowly getting whittled down. There's really no sign of counter pressure anytime soon for Wildcard Gaming. Maro drops that Frozen Orb, but it's more so just to hold Waz and Swapsy in place so they don't ultimately go down. Maro makes the play, blinks into center field, tries to burst down Waz. Waz does not get cut off guard, makes a good trade and stays alive. Now Method Black simply just need to push forward and end this.
Yeah, Zeepai with the Astral Shift trying to deny Method Black the opportunity to win the game. Waz with his Bear Form and his Bark Skin, as well as his Safeguard, managed to survive that last attempt, but now a clear opening, especially with Maro having the Icy Veins up shortly. Waz could be very vulnerable here. Chaz sitting down for a drink. How much mana is he gonna get? Wildcard Gaming, you have to stop him, but Swapsy's low. They may have sat down for the drink way too long. Swapsy's trying to stay alive with the Astral Shift. Chaz got about 50% mana back, but he has to catch
Polymorph.
up. That's a full Polymorph. Maro, beautifully done. Chaz trinkets out into the full poly. Swapsy trying to hold on a little bit longer. Another Polymorph on Chaz into the capstun. Do they have the damage to take Swapsy down on game number 6? Swapsy manages to stay alive. A Cyclone coming in from Looney. Swapsy running for his life, trying to survive. Chaz connects the Iron Bark. That's the only thing allowing him to survive, but still good burst damage. Maro with a beautiful counterspell. Nice Cyclone coming in from Looney. Beautiful control from Wildcard Gaming. Are they going to be able to finally take Swapsy down?
Wildcard Gaming are putting together the pieces of what I thought was the unsolvable puzzle. Swapsy has just been against the wall for the last couple seconds of this match as he tries to reverse some pressure on his Zeepai and closes it out. Tons of damage from Waz in that incarnation. Waz carrying at a critical point in the game and taking the tournament for his team.
It looked like that drink was just going to be the thing that absolutely cost them. He comes back. He's not able to stabilize for such a long time. And all of a sudden, we see the turnaround. The Lightning Lasso is going to not only mitigate some of the pressure, but it's going to do the damage needed. And Zico, Method Black, is looking insane for the entire year at this point with 240 points.
Yeah, they've won 2 out of 2 cups so far. They won 5 in the last year. Absolutely incredible performance so far. And last year, they had a slow start, but not this time around. Beautiful gameplay all around here, and we got to give it up to Maro as well, landing those polymorphs there towards the end, almost taking Swapsy down, and Waz actually cloning up Zeepai right there before he can get that final nail in the coffin. And of course that burst right there in the end too. Swapsy, what a legend, kiting around and just surviving, giving Chaz enough time to get that drink off, and then of course turning it around with the Lightning Lasso, with the Earth Shock, combined with that incarnation, and that's going to be lights out for Zeepai.
And also look at how they even got to this place. I mean, you look at Wildcard Gaming, and they were able to make such quick work of Method Black just 2 series ago, a 3-0. Method Black then goes, they body We Were Here, and while they're doing that, they're taking notes. They look at what happened in that series against Wildcard Gaming, and they come back with vengeance. They're able to take them down 4-2. Wildcard Gaming, though, looks phenomenal throughout the entirety of the series. You see it in that game as well. They were so close to being able to actually extend it all the way to the Game 7, and that's why you're going to see Wildcard Gaming in second place, 180 points right now. Method Black in first place as well. These are going to be 2 teams that we expect to battle it out. It's going to be very hard to change my mind, but if anybody could do it, it would probably be change my mind with them currently in third place. Also, look at the Chalky Milkmen there. We do know that they have lost a significant amount of points. Now you can see they are going to try to inch their way back